Hello again. I got a new toy. This is an Ibanez 7-string bass. The model number is BTB747. And what's kind of interesting, I got this at Sweetwater again. I mean, here we have another commercial for Sweetwater. Hint, hint, guys. My sales rep, a guy by the name of John Gillespie. If you've read the thank yous and credits on the new album, on the Trophy Hunting for Unicorns insert, you'll see his name next to Sweetwater's name. He's been my sales guy for years and always helps me get a good deal. And he gave me one remarkable deal, which I really can't talk about, on this critter here. And Sweetwater always has a room dedicated to bass guitars. And being the fool that I am, I walk in there and check things out constantly, and saw this thing hanging on the wall, and asked one of the sales guys to get it down for me, because it was like, way up as far as they could get it. I didn't think they wanted anybody touching it. And the first time I played it, I realized this is different. This is really, really different. A 7-string bass. I'd heard of them before. I'd never seen one. And what's interesting, the 7th string is a high string. It's an F, and the tuning is B, E, A, D, G, C, and then F. And this thing came with what's known as standard gauging for like a 6-string. The gauging on the B string is a 130, and on the F string, it's a .020. Now those are piccolo strings, and what I normally, you've seen some of my other 6-string basses, and I normally, because Curtis and I play in a local band called the Gary Gerard Group, or 3G, and Gary likes to tune down a half step because he does all the vocals. I understand that when you're playing 3 hours a night, and I found out that trying to tune down a B string that's 130 and E string that's 100, even brand new strings just didn't have the sharpness. They just felt sloppy. So I found a company called JustStrings.com. I think I've talked about them before, where you could order individual strings. And so I came up with the idea of putting lighter gauge strings on a bass, for the simple fact guitar players are doing it all the time. You guys out there that play guitar, you're always changing your gauges. So I figured, might as well try it with a bass. On this guy, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but what I wanted to say, normally I would play the B string as a 115, and then I would take the E, A, D down 20 increments apiece, and then I would use the G, I would use a 035 on the G, and for the C, on a 6-string bass, I'd use a 025. This is even lighter gauge than that, and so is this for that matter. But what's interesting, since this is an F, there's a note here. Ever hear that out of a bass guitar? That's an F. So is this. That's an F. That's an F. That's an F. That's pretty amazing. And what's really cool is it's 24 frets. It's a neck through. This thing is this is a piece of lumber. And what's really nice with Ibanez, they finally got smart. And some of you guys that have active pickups, I said I'd never buy another bass or another instrument with an active pickup, but unfortunately I didn't have a chance. They finally got smart enough to where they made it easier to actually get to the battery on those things. It used to be a real hassle, and I've actually broken the little wires for the connector a couple of times. It becomes a real headache when that happens. But because of the neck being what it is, up here at the nut, I went online and found the dimensions for this. It's 63 millimeters, or 2.5 inches up here at the nut. Down here on the 24th fret, it's 96 millimeters, or 3 3/4 inches. It has Bartolini pickups, and I think, I don't know how much they have tried to promote this bass or even produce it, the information I got from Sweetwater and my sales receipt and everything said it's a limited #1 demo. So I really don't know if they're just trying to see if these things are going to be popular, if people are going to actually want to try to struggle with this thing or not. But I couldn't pass up the deal I was given, and there's nothing like a challenge, I'll tell you, and this thing has been a challenge. It's going to be a while before I'm comfortable enough to do a gig with it or record with it, but I'm already starting to experiment. Yeah, like I said, the neck is pretty wide, and it's a bit of a challenge for me right now. But what's really cool is with this higher string, I can come up with some really interesting chords. Really nice, sweet sounding. It's just fun, but it's going to take me a while, like I said, before I'm really proficient with it, because of the wideness of the neck, it's physically kind of daunting to play, and it's also there's a little bit of a mental thing here because of the 7th string here. I'm used to playing 6 strings, and so I have to mentally tell myself where I am on this thing right now. And what's also interesting is because there's 7 strings and the neck's as wide as it is, the strings are actually closer together than on a 6-string bass, so it makes it a little awkward right now. And I don't know if maybe I'm just kind of going out on a limb doing this video on this thing, but this is just kind of cool. I'm going to attempt something here from the new album. In the middle of a song called Screams, which is the first tune on the album, there's a really cool lick that Dan Lou and I play together, and see if I can do it. Like I said, it's a bit of a challenge on a wider neck. I'm going to play it real slow. Very sloppy, but that's a lick that Greg Hogue showed me as a fingering exercise, and I just decided to include it in a song. And one of the ways I'm teaching myself how to get used to this and to use the extra strings is exercises like that. Just it's just kind of takes a while to get your hand used to something a lot wider. Since I really enjoy playing chords on a bass, I always have. It's usually using a root, in this case an A, and the 5th, which would E. You can do some really solid sounding stuff. But once I got into playing 6 strings and experimenting a little more, I was able to kind of widen the scope of what I could do with chords, things like this. And then now with the 7th string, you can do some really fun stuff with this. And I've been kind of experimenting with chords. Some really fun stuff with this string. I'll be experimenting with what I can do with a F string for a long time. And as we start making plans to do the next album, trust me, there will be a next album. If you're patient enough to wait on us for about a year, this thing will definitely be on it. We have some other unique instruments. Curtis was gifted a hammered dulcimer, which we're going to have to figure out how to use. And you will hear that maybe just for a bar or two until we figure out actually how to use it. But the next album's going to be different, very different. Like anything else I've ever done hasn't been different. But this thing will be featured in to show you that just the sizing alone, there is kind of a mental thing and as well as a physical thing in learning how to play this. I want to attempt a chord pattern and a lick from a GHF song that I wrote called Master Plan. Anyhow, that's kind of the main lyric chord pattern for Master Plan. And if you'll see, it's not using the high string here. I have to reach around quite a bit and get into the center of the neck to play that. So this is a learning process. And anybody who wants to get a 7-string bass, I hope you have bigger hands than I have, because you're going to need them. But I'll tell you what, I'm loving it already. It is throwing me off a little bit because the strings are closer together and they're the heavier normal gauging you would use for a 6-string bass. And I'm not used to that yet, but I'm not going to touch this thing as far as making any changes on it until I absolutely have to. I've only found one feature that I really don't even like, and that is the input jack has a lock on it, which is a little tab here that you push and you can pull the cord out. And that's the type of thing that will mess up in a heartbeat. Other than that, I haven't found anything on this that I don't like. And it's just going to be a challenge. And I think every musician, if you've been playing for a few years, every now and then you kind of need to step outside your comfort zone. And I have definitely done that. So, hey, pray for me. And I want to say thank you for putting up with my sloppy playing and my rambling discourse here. Thank you.